Good to have you back. There's a lot to recommend about this film. It's a film noir. It has great performances by Richard Widmark, Jean Peters and Thelma Ritter. And it's a film that actually pissed off J. Edgar Hoover. It is Pick Up on South Street from 1953. The catalyst for this film's development was Darryl F. Zanuck, who showed director Sam Fuller a script called Blaze of Glory, about a lawyer falling in love with a criminal she was defending in a murder trial. Fuller liked the idea but asked Zanuck if instead he could write a story of a lowly criminal and his girlfriend, originally titled Pickpocket. When Zanuck thought that sounded too European, Fuller changed the title to Pick Up on South Street, an area he was familiar with during his days as a crime reporter. Fuller consulted with Detective Dan Campion of the New York Police Department for background and to add realism to the story. The role of Tiger, the police detective, was based on Campion, who had been suspended without salary for 6 months for manhandling a suspect. The screenplay was initially rejected twice by the Production Code Office for excessive brutality and sadistic beatings of both men and women. Although a revised script was accepted soon after, the studio was forced to reshoot a scene where Candy and Joey frisk each other for the loot. The Production Code Office thought that groping of each other was too risque. Fuller turned down many actresses for the lead role, including Anne Baxter, Linda Darnell, Ava Gardner, who he thought looked too glamorous, and Marilyn Monroe. Monroe had sat in on a rehearsal and actually read for the role of Candy. While Fuller liked her very much, he said she was wrong for the part due to her overwhelming sensuality. Shelley Winters was originally cast to play Candy, but due to her pregnancy, the studio assigned the role to Betty Grable. Grable demanded that there be a dance number in the film, which is something that Fuller refused. With only a week to go before the film started production, Fuller saw Jean Peters walk into the studio's commissary while having lunch. He noticed that she walked with a bow-legged style that resembled many prostitutes. Fuller was impressed with Peters' intelligence, her spunkiness, the different roles she had played at the studio and how well she screen tested. When Betty Grable insisted on being in the film and threatened to cause problems, Fuller threatened to walk. Fuller won out and Peters remained in the role. Films noir are typically short and were often made quite quickly. This film was actually shot in just 20 days. They were always intended as the supporting film on a double bill. Films noir, despite the intentions of the studio, were often better than the main feature. The cast and crew were either up-and-comers or were second-tier talent who weren't afraid to take a risk and were given the space to do so. Many of the key creatives, like the cinematographers, were often refugees from Europe and so gave the films a much more sophisticated look than a lot of mainstream American films at the time had. What is unusual about this film noir is how many key creatives were Americans. Cinematographer Joe McDonald had spent 30 years in roles from assistant cameraman to first camera operator and later to director of photography, his role on this film. He was adept at working with both black and white and colour films and was skilled in every genre, from films noir to westerns to musicals. Two examples of his best work include Niagara, starring Marilyn Monroe, and My Darling Clementine for director John Ford. Lyle R. Wheeler, known as the Dean of Hollywood Art Directors, worked on more than 350 films, winning 5 Academy Awards and being nominated for 24 others. He too had worked on across numerous positions, from art direction to set design. His black and white films are characterised by sharp, clean lines, notable examples being Rebecca, Laura, and All About Eve. Director Samuel Fuller rarely employed major stars and often preferred casting obscure or inexperienced actors. His films often focused on the psychological effects of violence on both victims and perpetrators, and they often revolve around the seedy parts of society. Despite his films containing depictions of brutal and unflinching violence, Fuller said, "I hate violence, but that has never prevented me from using it in my films." Now, it's interesting that such expertise was available for a film like this, a film the studio must have considered to be a small, fairly insignificant production. After seeing a preview of the film, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover demanded a meeting with studio boss Darryl F. Zanuck. He objected to the unpatriotic nature of Skip, especially his line, "Are you waving a flag at me?" Even when the character realises he's dealing with communists. Hoover also objected to the scene of a federal agent bribing an informer. Clearly something that never really happened in real life in Hoover's opinion. Zanuck, however, backed his director, telling Hoover he knew nothing about making movies. This ended the studio's close relationship with the FBI, and all references to the agency were removed from the film's advertising, posters, and lobby cards. When the movie was released in France, the French dubbing replaced communist spying with drug dealing to avoid political controversy and to remove any reference to microfilm. Now, initially, no English print with subtitles went into circulation, The French title La Porte de la Drogue roughly translates to Pier of Drugs. The original version was released several years later. The German title for the movie is Polizei greift ein, or Police Intervene. In the German version, the title and dialogues were also changed to focus on drug dealing. On its release, reviews were somewhat mixed. The New York Times reviewer felt the film provided a pale imitation of a Mickey Spillane story. Variety magazine said that if the film makes any point at all, it's that there is nothing really wrong with pickpockets, even when they are given to violence, as long as they don't play footsie with communist spies. In recent years, critical appraisals of this film have warmed considerably, with Roger Ebert regarding the film as one of Fuller's noir classics. Rick Thompson suggests the film may have been the basis of Robert Bresson's Pickpocket from 1959, with which it shares many themes. It garnered Thelma Ritter an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. At the 1953 Venice Film Festival, Samuel Fuller won a Bronze Lion and was nominated for a Golden Lion. The film was remade in 1967 as The Cape Town Affair with James Brolin, Jacqueline Bisset and Claire Trevor. However, the film is a real stinker and one I'd recommend that you avoid. This film is included amongst the 1001 movies you must see before you die. It was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress in 2018 and is included amongst the American Film Institute's top 400 most heart-pounding American films. So lots of great reasons to watch this film. It looks fantastic. It's a really, really moody film noir that you'll really enjoy the storyline of. Great performances in particular by Richard Widmark, but also all the other key players as well. And beautifully shot, beautifully paced. It's not a long film, but it'll keep you engaged the entire time. So what I'd suggest you do is go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, look for the link to this particular film. Please watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. But regardless, come back. Let everyone know what you thought, and whether you'd recommend them to watch this particular film as well. And then we'll be back in the not too distant future for another Classic Films review. Catch you next time.